Okay, these are the notes on Pythagorean theorem. Hope you guys are doing well. Some of this is just going to be a review from middle school, but then some of it, there will be some new topics dealing with Pythagorean theorem that you probably did not cover in middle school. Okay, so make sure you have a calculator because a lot of these problems you will need it. You will be taking square roots and you'll usually take them 2 decimal places. So again, to review, Pythagorean theorem, we use it in right triangles only. And we have what are called legs of the triangle. So that would be a leg, and this would be a leg. And then the C is usually referred to as the hypotenuse. And again, that should be a review. And the formula for Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So if I put numbers in there and it actually works, I know it's a right triangle. All right. Now, we can use this when we are giving 2 sides, in this case a leg and another leg, to find the hypotenuse. We can also use it if I give you a hypotenuse in one leg to find the other leg. All right, so same thing, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's a quick review. It does not matter which one you designated as A or B. All right, you're going to do the exact same thing. So I've got 5 squared plus 12 squared equals, now they're not calling this hypotenuse C, they're calling it X. It does not matter. It's still the exact same thing. All right, 5 times 5 is 25. 12 times 12 is 144 equals X squared. Add these two together. 144 plus 25 is 169 equals x squared, and we've already covered this. How do you get rid of a square? You square root it, but if you square root one side, you got to square root the other. A square root cancels a square, so all that's left is x. And on your calculator, I don't care if you use it, the square root of 169 is a perfect square. It's actually equal to 13. Now that doesn't always mean you're going to get a perfect square, but sometimes you will. If you don't, we're probably just going to take it 1 or 2 decimal places. I'll usually tell you on a test or a quiz how many places to take it. Okay, next one, this is a right triangle, but this time they gave me a hypotenuse and one leg. So I've got this leg and that leg. So I'm going to set it up, x squared plus 9 squared equals, that's the hypotenuse, 11 squared. And again, 9 squared is 81. 11 squared is 121. You need to get x by itself, so get rid of the plus 81. Subtract 81 on both sides. X squared is equal to 40. And again, how do you get rid of a square? Square root it. And this is not a perfect square. Usually on problems like this, I will not say put it in simplest radical form, just round it to the nearest tenth, the nearest hundredth. Let's just go in this case to the nearest tenth. So if you're on your calculator, if you do the square root of 40, it should be 6.3. All right. Word problem. So it looks like we've got a street here 1.8 miles, and we have another street that's 0.8 miles. And it's under construction. She's been taking the detour. About how long is the stretch of road that's under construction? So what we're looking for is this piece right here. And again, the hypotenuse is always across from the 90. So looks like we're going to do 1.8 squared plus 0.8 squared equals x squared. All right, so if you do 1.8 squared on your calculator, that's 3.24, plus 0.8 squared is 0.64 equals x squared. Add those two together, you should get 3.88 equals x squared. And again, how do you get rid of a square? Square root it. Square root one side, square root the other. All right, square root of 3.88 is 1.97. There's your answer. Okay, so almost 2 whatever miles, whatever this street. Yeah, it was in miles, so that'd be almost 2 miles. So 1.97 miles. All right. Now, one of the other things you're going to have to do is find area of a triangle using Pythagorean theorem. So what I'm giving you here is an isosceles triangle. How do I know it's isosceles? Because two sides are the same. We've got to find the area of this triangle. The formula for area of a triangle is 1/2 base times the height, 1/2 BH. 14 is the base, but I'm missing the height. The height or altitude has to go from the highest point straight down and be perpendicular with the base. That means it makes a 90-degree angle. So what that means is we should have two identical right triangles here. Because again, if it's isosceles and we split it right down the middle, it should be two identical triangles. So this piece here should be 7, and this piece here should be 7. I need to find the height, because I need height for my formula here. So I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem. Remember, height is one of your legs, so that would be h squared. You could call it a or b, it doesn't matter. Plus 7 squared is equal to 12 squared. So 7 squared is 49. 12 squared is 144. Subtract 49. And h squared should equal, and again, you can use your calculator on this, 95. And again, how do I get rid of a square? I square root it. Square root of 95 is 9.75. Take it to the nearest hundredth. Okay, use that answer and plug it back in up here. Area is 1/2 the base. The base was 14. Now we know the height was 9.75. So you're using Pythagorean theorem just to get another answer to a question. So that's 1/2 times 14 times 9.75. Again, use your calculator. Make sure you're bringing it to class every day from here on out. That should be 68.25. There's your area. All right. Next one, same thing. It's isosceles. This time they gave you the height, but you're missing the base. So area is still 1/2 base times height, but I'm missing this piece here. I'll call it B. That's the base. But if I have a height here, I should have a right triangle on the right and the left, and they're identical. So I'm just going to call this piece here X. All right? Same thing. Let's use Pythagorean theorem. X is a leg. X squared plus 6 squared equals 18 squared. And again, just work it out. You can use your calculator. 18 squared is 324. Subtract 36 and then take the square root. It's always the same thing. All right, so x squared is equal to 288. Take the square root of that. And that's 16.97. But remember, that's only half of the base. The other piece here must be 16.97. So if you really wanted to find the total base, add these two together. So if you add those two numbers together, 33.94. So let's go back up here to area. Area is 1/2 the base, 33.94, times the height, which was 6. And again, if you multiply that out, it should be 101.82. All right. Now, again, that should have been a review from middle school, combining area and Pythagorean theorem. Converse of the Pythagorean theorem. All right. This is probably a new topic for you. This is used to figure out if a triangle is exactly a right triangle. If a triangle is acute, that means less than 90 degrees. Or if a triangle is obtuse, that means it is greater than 90. Okay, so here's basically the way it works. If a squared plus b squared equals c squared works, and we're going to put c squared first, you'll see this in a second, then what that basically means is it is a right triangle. So the most common right triangle out there is called a 3-4-5. They use it in measurement and construction all the time. So remember, the biggest piece is always a hypotenuse. So even if I didn't draw this triangle and I just gave you the numbers 3, 5, and 4, I don't have to put them in order from least to greatest. That has to be the hypotenuse. So always put that in for C. So the question is, does 5 squared equal 3 squared plus 4 squared? Well, what's 5 squared? 25. What's 3 squared? 9. What's 4 squared? 16. Is 9 plus 16 25? Yes. If it's equal on both sides, it's a right triangle. So this is a right triangle. A 3-4-5 always works. It's the same one they use all the time in building. All right? Now, if c squared is less than a squared plus b squared, then it has to be an acute triangle. So if c squared is less than, keep that in mind, all right? Acute means less than 90, so if c squared is less than a squared plus b squared, then it's acute. If c squared is greater than a squared plus b squared, then it's obtuse. That means it's going to be greater than 90. That angle right there is obtuse. It's more than 90. Again, remember, greater than, think greater than 90. That has to be obtuse. All right? So just a few examples here, and then you'll see this for homework. I'm not drawing the triangle out. So even if I give you homework or something, assignment on Schoology, these triangles aren't drawn out. I'm just giving you 3 numbers. So based on this, 38, 77, and 86, is this triangle right, acute, or obtuse? Well, first of all, we got to find the biggest number. That's 86. All right, that needs to be the hypotenuse. So the way I do it is I put a box. How does 86 squared compare to 38 squared plus 77 squared? Okay? And again, I'm working them out here. You guys make sure you have a calculator when you do these. 86 squared is 7,396. 38 squared is 1,444. 77 squared is 5,929. Add these two together and see how it compares. So when you add these two together, you get 7,373. And again, how does it compare to c squared, which was 7,396? 7,396 is greater than this number, so if it's greater than, it must be obtuse. You don't need to draw the triangle to figure these out, okay? All right. Same thing with the next one. Again, you can use decimals. It does not matter. Find the biggest side. Sometimes the biggest side is the last one listed. Sometimes it's not, so be careful. So we need to do 37.5 squared and see how it compares to 10.5 squared plus 36.5 squared. All right, and again, I worked it out. 37.5 squared, 1,406.25. And you can do all of this in one shot in your calculator if you want to. I broke it down. It does not matter. You can type in 10.5 squared plus 36.5 squared and speed the whole process up. 10.5 squared is 110.25. 36.5 squared is 1,332.25. Add those two together. You should get 1,442.5. So how does 1,406.25 compare to that? It's actually less than. Well, if it's less than, then it is acute. But remember, you're putting Pythagorean theorem kind of backwards. You're putting c squared first. All right? Now, again, I'm not going to go over all of these here. Just be careful for like homework and stuff like that. Sometimes they don't make the biggest number at the end. They did here, but look at number 2. That's the hypotenuse. 41 is the hypotenuse, so be careful how you set it up. Look at number 3. 61 is the hypotenuse. And look at number 4. 20 is the hypotenuse there, okay? And then what you should notice, you can work these out. I'm not going to work every single one of them out here for you. It's the same thing every time. Number 1 should have been a right. Number 2 should be obtuse once you figure it out. Number 3 should be a right triangle, and number 4 should be obtuse. All right. So again,